What's up, guys? Tavi Castro here. Came all the way to LA from Amsterdam to visit Mike. Wanted to get a weekend of content and training, and we just completely smashed the leg workout. And I can't wait to speak about the things that we've been talking about the entire time today on Mornings with Titan.
Welcome to Morning with Titan. This is awesome. Tavi Castro is here, and I don't know. You're an artist. You play the piano. You DJ. You have your own empire you've created. You're from the Netherlands, and we've been friends for a couple of years here, and I've got to see you grow so much. Something I love about you is that you're a youngster with a mentality of a guy that's lived 100 years. You're so focused.
Yeah.
So first, thanks for coming in.
No, my pleasure.
How's your legs?
Pleasure. My legs are jelly. My legs are jelly.
I love that you did that though. I messaged you and I said tomorrow morning 5 a.m. legs, and you instantly were like in. Most guys don't want to train with me on legs.
No, but you know, with I guess my story, it's that I want to learn. I want to do things that make me uncomfortable, and that's something that I had a very difficult youth, and I moved away from home when I was 14 years old, so I was always already taking care of myself. So I realized very young that I needed to keep learning and keep being open-minded in order to basically survive. So seeing your videos years ago and learning from you and learning from all the other guys that were busy, I've always been really open to learning and to really wanting to see what works for me. And now it's an honor to be here and be such good friends with you and your family. So it's amazing.
Well, you're a success. Question then. Hey, let's go back to when you were 14 and you were kind of on your own. Can you go into that?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually funny. I'm actually also here in LA. I did a meeting with Generation Iron. They're gonna do a documentary on my story. And I'm also finishing off a book about it. It's a story about I went from Mexico to Canada. My family immigrated there, and I was very talented with soccer, with football, and I got the chance to go to Europe. But my family my parents are amazing people, loving, hardworking, but we were not rich, right? So I had to go there by myself. I had to really...
How old were you at that time?
14, 15, yeah. So it was very difficult. I was going to countries that I didn't even speak the language, and I was, obviously playing a sport is you're all in the same language. So that got me through it. And yeah, so I got to Europe, and I was there for about 4 years playing, 3-4 years, and then I had a lot of issues with my work permits and my passports. So I was having a lot of political problems in terms of being able to get the opportunity to get that pro contract. So I was actually playing very high level soccer. And then that's where, that kind of led into the next part of my life, which was, just going to school, DJing, music, fitness. So,
well, it's a great thing that you went on your own to do that. And I always am impressed when anybody like Mona coming to America and not speaking the language and becoming a success. And I think that's incredible that you did the same thing. You're traveling at such a young age to other places not speaking the language. That's impressive. Mostly playing athletics, some kind of sport like football, soccer to the rest of the world. It's cool to see that you took that and moved it onto something else like health and fitness.
Yeah.
And your empire with the clothing and everything that you're doing, and it translated.
Yeah. So when I went over and I had all the problems with getting the contracts, at some point I had to decide: am I going to come back to my family, or am I going to go to take a scholarship to the NCAA in America, to universities that I didn't really like, or there wasn't subjects that I liked there. So it was a really difficult decision. It was a difficult time as well, because you go from training twice a day, loving a sport like it's your soul, to all of a sudden, oh my God, what if? So it's over. You have these visions of playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Right.
So it was very depressing, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. Uh, and then I was able to find a university in the Netherlands, Technical University of Delft, um, which was actually affordable for me and my family. So it was really, it's an amazing country, the Netherlands. I've lived in Canada, Mexico, I've traveled the whole world, and I'm really, really, yeah, proud of that country actually. And it's, yeah, I went to university, and in that first, year, this is kind of my entrance into fitness and into bodybuilding. That first year after football, I had a lot of anxiety, depression. I was going to university now for aerospace engineering, very difficult study.
Yeah.
And my body just broke down. I was overweight. In order to pay for everything, I started to, because I was talented with the piano and playing music and DJing. I was working on the weekends, so my life was literally like from Monday to Friday, school for 10 hours, and then Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, I was DJing in a club till 6 a.m. So if you can imagine what kind of a toll that takes on your body after, even...
You weren't getting a lot of lifting in.
I hadn't even started lifting yet. It was really just, trying to get through that.
See make a living and get the degree.
Yeah, exactly. And but there came a point where it just like completely broke down. And I was like, I feel horrible. I feel insecure. I've never felt so unfit in my life. I said, I need to do something.
How old were you at this time?
This was about 18, 19 now. Yeah. So this is my first year of university.
Right.
And so of course, with an aerospace engineering study, I was from 8 in the morning until 6 p.m. I was in school. So there's not really a lot of sports, team sports, or that you can really plan out or do in that time. But there was the gym, right? That's always there. You can go whenever you can.
Did somebody get you in it, or did you just kind of go, I got to get some kind of workout in?
Well, I was always, really interested in strength and conditioning. When I was a soccer player, like I knew absolutely everything about increasing your VO2 max in order to be, on the pitch and run faster and longer than everybody else. So I was really into the science of performance, so not so much muscle building.
Right.
And it wasn't until, I was going to go to the gym and I was feeling basically insecure, overweight, not good. Okay, it's time to start learning how to control that, right? And then that's when I started to read everything that I could find, watching videos, your content, everything, absolutely everything, and taking notes, trying something, hey, that doesn't work for me, trying something else, hey, that works for me, and slowly I started to build my own, basically, structure of being successful at controlling my composition. So that's how it started. And you know how it is. Once you start seeing progression, you start seeing results, the addiction part comes in. You just love it, and you want to see how far you can take it. And that's how I got into fitness. So it was actually to try to make myself healthier in a period where I was very depressed and I was very actually unhealthy. So it was it saved me at that point.
What was the turning point? Because that's when everybody talks about how great life is and how they're doing and successful. I'm curious because it's the interesting stories of how you got through that, the downfalls before you made it. Those are the things that I don't think people hear enough about, because you got to somewhere where you are now, but it's because of what you did then.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it that when you're doing your schooling and everything and you were heavy or overweight or just out of shape, in a point where you got depressed and didn't like how you felt, what was it that triggered, that said, okay, enough of this?
I guess that's, at some point you get tired of being tired, if that makes any sense. And just, a lot of things at that age, the girl you like doesn't like you back. Things. Those are the first real motivations you use to go to the gym, right? They're not the best. Obviously, you should just love the gym, but that's what gets you in there. So for me, it was just, I felt horrible. I was in a country where I didn't have a lot of friends because I couldn't even speak the language. So for me, it was really, I was just tired of feeling that way. So I was like, I got to do something. And I'm just going to be open to anything because I have no idea what I need to do in order to get out of that. So it's like I'm just going to go in the gym and train and start at least with my body,
Right.
that I feel healthier, and then we'll go from there and see how my life expands after that. So yeah, I guess that's the clearest
point.
Yeah.
And you were still young at that point. You're 18, 19, 20 years old in that point, and you're studying and you're watching YouTube, and what I like is that you watch, you apply. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But you're not afraid to try things and get going. How important is that? Just to the point of get going and starting.
When somebody asks me what is the, because I've done this, if you look at especially the last like 5 to 10 years of what I've done with fitness, and then also DJing at Tomorrowland, the biggest place that you can play as a DJ, producing for amazing record labels. The common trait in all of those successes is I love to learn and to try. I actually take pleasure in learning something, applying it, and if it fails, then I don't see it as a failure. I see it as like, oh, now I learned that that's not the right way to do it for me or for whatever it is I'm doing. So when people ask me what is the secret is to learn how to love how to learn.
There was something Denzel Washington, he sticks in my mind the most for saying, if you're not failing, you're not trying.
That's right.
And I thought that's amazing, because nobody wants to fail. Everybody wants just to be good at everything.
Right. And if you're not trying, you're not learning. So when you learn about something, it flows into the next thing. Hey, oh, that's how it works. So that's how. Well, now that I know everything about it, let's see what happens if I try it, right? So that's the first step is not really trying. It's learning about what you want to try, and once you can learn that, then you're going to try, and then it becomes like, okay, I'm going to keep trying until I get it right. So that's learning for me. I feel like that's really the root of beginning to become successful in something.
So I've been in the industry since 1987 in the magazines. So I'm thinking that's probably right around before you were born.
3 years, yeah.
It was before you were born.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I was in the magazines already before you were born, and I've met everybody there is, and it's amazing when you meet the youngsters that get that success, and you technically got success pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I know it's been a long journey. But you're 29, you're ahead of the health and fitness world as an influencer, in my opinion, and the numbers show it. But you have such a humbleness to you, and a willing to learn, and a willing to be kind, but the other one is peaceful. Yeah. Where I meet so many that have won titles and have got whatever that is, the titles and the trophies and everything, and they don't have nearly as much success as you outside in the real world in business, and they kind of get an attitude. What is it that keeps you humble and at peace? Yeah. So I mean, I think. Or do you find yourself that way? I mean, I don't know how you view yourself.
I think I do. It's something that I've worked on. So I had my first dip in my life was that period of stopping my dream, going to school. But then about 4 or 5 years ago, I had another moment that was for me extremely important, about 4 years ago now, where a lot of things were happening in my life that were just horrible. So, I was engaged, and she cheated with my best friend, and somebody was trying to steal a brand from my company from me. So I had a period where I became so distrustful of people, and I felt like I'm being kind and giving, and everybody just wants to take from me.
You're 24, 25 at this time.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, this was the biggest lesson, and actually, with the documentary and with the book, what I actually want to give to people. It's not the diet plans. It's what I learned about. I was basically suicidally depressed. It was really a bad period. I ended up not sleeping for 3 months, and falling asleep at the wheel with my. And the combination, the timeline was very difficult, because I was having a lot of financial success, money's coming in, but nothing I bought made me happy anymore. I was just lost. I didn't trust people. I didn't understand, what to do, how to feel, the perspective that I needed to take in order to get to the next step. So I had lost myself, fell asleep at the wheel, crashed at 130 kilometers an hour against the guardrail, and it was all over the news in the Netherlands. It was really, really bad moment for me. Uh, but at the same time, it was the most important moment of my life. So basically woke up in the car, smashed everything. I was very lucky. I had minor injuries from what it could have been. Um, but that became a moment, actually the same thing. I was tired of being sad. So all of a sudden I had this like epiphany. I had this feeling when I got out of the car, like I don't care who I am. So I almost had like an ego death during a car crash. So I lost, I don't want to be Tavi anymore. I just want to be a human. So this is what really happened to me at that moment. And from that moment I started to really look into more, okay, the spiritual side of things, as a kid, you going to church, religion, it's all really like, you can get quite, you find it cheesy or something like that. But all of a sudden it's like, wait, I felt something in that moment, and I want to figure out and understand what it was. Why did I all of a sudden go from months of depression? I crashed my car, and all of a sudden why am I so light? And it was ego death. It was a moment where I went, I don't care who I am. I'm a human. I'm not Tavi Castro, the guy with the success. I'm a person. And then you start to do a lot of your perspective changes. So the things that you want to achieve change. The way that you see things change as well. The way that you look at people, perceive people, you start to understand them as that person is a product of their environment. It doesn't necessarily, even though they hurt me, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person. Their environment created that. So that was like the biggest lesson that I learned, and hopefully at some point I can, send that message to other people who might be, going through the same things with anxieties, depressions, stresses of life, which can become crippling.
Really Shut crippling. You down.
Yeah.
Shut you down. So that was such an eye opener for you at that moment. It was like, wait a minute. All right, I'm running myself ragged and trying to this image of who you were, and you're like, wait a minute, this is a clarity moment. I hope nobody else has to go through it to that extreme, but we've all hit the rock bottom like that. I hit the rock bottom. It wasn't anything like that, but at those moments, man, it really does open you up. What were the steps after that to make you go, okay, I'm going to do this again, in a sense, rebuild who you are, try to trust people or build that trust and create things. What were the steps in meditation or lifting, or what was it that helped you create this new you?
Right. So, right before that point, it was like that was really the wave of the viral photos from, of me that was creating I'm Tavi Castro, I need to do this, be this kind of person. But as I grew in the industry and with my success, I felt like people were just wanting to take from me. And that's why at that point I said, I'm tired of being me. I'm tired of being Tavi Castro. I just want to be a human. And that, that really kicked off the kind of the spiritual journey of, all right, what am I actually doing and why? Am I living a life of ambition or a life of purpose? So am I going to achieve something? What if I died that day? What would I have achieved with my life? Did I give anything really back to the whole planet? So that that led to reading everything about Buddha, Quran, Bible, and I started to make a lot of connections. Also Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer. These are really, really good authors. They help to mold a different perspective that actually I was now not attached to my goals and not attached to people. And what I mean by that is you can say to yourself, I want to have that mansion, the Ferrari, the money, the fame, the success, and until I have that, I'm unhappy.
Right.
Or you can see it as, I have the goal, of one day having a mansion, a Ferrari, all the success, all the money, whatever. But I'm happy with this treehouse I'm living in the middle of nowhere, right? That perspective change all of a sudden motivated me more because now I'm already happy. I found out how to be happy by being grateful, by being, forget what people have done to you, forget the past, don't think about the future, be here now. It's really I guess being present in the moment, but not in a way that you're present in the moment, not thinking about the future, but you're not attaching yourself to the future.
It's a great view. I think the people, whoever is watching this and listening to this, is going to love this portion because that's a great point that you and I both know very rich people that are very unhappy.
Yeah.
And I know tons of people that are absolutely broke, paycheck to paycheck, that are the most happy people in the world. And so what is it? And you just kind of described that whole concept of be present what you're doing, keep working towards the goal, but live in the moment and be grateful.
Yeah.
Grateful's that's the biggest thing. Be grateful what you had.
Yeah.
Or have.
Yeah.
Which I've known you before the little angel in your life.
Yeah.
So I've known you for a little while. So I've seen you go from the guy, the DJ, the social media phenomenon or celebrity to a family man. And the transition was beautiful to watch, especially as I watched it and I saw you grow as a person. And now that I'm a father, I know one of the first things that we talked about was me being on this side of the fence now. It's something I never thought I would be, a father.
Yeah.
And so we kind of talked about that. Can you talk about your family life and the raising and the changes that have happened in the last couple of years with this little
Yeah.
one coming in?
After my accident, after I started, trying to learn more about the human ego and the consciousness, why are we thinking the way that we think? In that moment, that's when I met Janita, who I'm with right now, and she helped me to discover that as well. So I would reflect off of her, like the things that I'm thinking and doing. Fell madly in love with each other, and then 2.5 years later, she got pregnant. And of course, I was I was afraid. I was not ready for it. It wasn't a planned pregnancy. But something because of the changes in my perspective and the way I was seeing life, I was ready, subconsciously.
Right.
And then of course, she was born, and all the cliches are exactly true. But it really, what it also made me realize and learn what is real love, because people say, oh, you fall in love and then you fall out of love. Once you have a child and you define love, you can't lose that. That's why there's mothers whose children are a serial killer, they still love them. They love the essence of the child, and that was such a amazing moment for me, and it motivated me so much to, it made me happy just knowing that she was safe. So everything I was doing around that, so my training, my work, my business, now I wasn't doing it because I wanted to be more famous, or I wasn't already at that moment, but now you had even more purpose, right? So I mentioned going from a life of ambition, leading a life of ambition, to leading a life of purpose.
Now you said something there that triggered something for me. There's a difference, and I've seen this through my career, is when you fight for that attention and the purpose is fame or money.
The ambition is fame. Yeah.
It trickles. It's slow, and you're unhappy. Compared to the point of what you're speaking of now, from what I understand, is the point when you do it because you love. I love working out, and I love working out early, 4 a.m, so it's my time. But I love it because I love it.
Yeah.
And it's my battle. It's my time, and I do it because it's in me. Yeah. And everything that you're doing now is something greater. And don't you think you flow better? And the other stuff comes, and you're not trying as much.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, I was butting my head against the wall over here going, no, I got to be famous. I got to get this movie. I got to get this money. And it doesn't happen. And then you're over here going, no, let me forget about that. And let me just live life and be happy and love and be in the moment.
Yeah, and that's if you really want to make it clear and define when you're thinking about the future, I want this, I want to achieve that. You know, anxiety comes from uncertainty from the future, and depression comes from pains from the past. So the present moment is really the only moment where you're actually in. So that's why, I really believe that when you go to the gym and you're doing the mind muscle connection, you're blocking out thought. You're blocking out your anxieties, you're blocking out your past pains. You're only focusing on your body. So, when you read about meditation, meditation is not thinking. It's not, elevating to some higher consciousness. It's really just turning off your thought. But you can also turn off your thought by doing things you love that pull you into the present moment. So if you're always anxiety and you're in the future. If you're always depressed, you're in the past. But the things that you love to do, like going to the gym, some people like to parachute and jump out of a plane. That brings them into the present moment. And then once a human is in the present moment, they're happy, because then nothing matters. It doesn't matter that you could have more, material gain. It doesn't matter what happened in the past, because you're okay. You're here. So the things that you love to do. So for me, that's being in the studio, creating a song, or going to the gym. Those are the moments where I get pulled back to the present moment, and nothing else really matters for that moment. And that refreshes you. That gets you ready for the next goal. The next thing you got to do that day or in your life.
You were talking about that, because you were talking about when you go and you're in the studio and you're playing the piano and stuff, and you lose yourself in that time. And I imagine when you're with your girl and the little baby now, that you just lose your time in that moment. So you're at peace at these moments that keep you grounded.
Yeah. I really visualize it as like a force that pulls you into the present. So also with a child, when you're holding a baby, you're not thinking about anything but, whoa, there's a little human here that's my blood and flesh, and that also pulls you into the present moment. And then you feel light. You feel like it doesn't matter that I haven't achieved the financial gain or the fame. Like, all that matters is that I'm here, breathing, healthy, and there's this little baby here pulling me into that present moment, or playing the piano, or making a track in the studio, or training. These are all different forms of meditation. That,
as long as you can be in the moment.
Yeah.
That anxiety, it destroys so many people. You are such a success. What is next for you?
What is next?
What is the goal? What's the goal? Music?
What I've really also realized the past 3 years, so after my low point, is that I love to create. So I love to make things appear out of my mind that never existed before. So whether that's a song, whether that's a cool outfit when we're designing clothing, I need to be able to create. So this past week we've been making a lot of really funny Instagram videos. That's also a form of creation.
Beyond funny.
Yeah.
Very. It's a second level.
Yeah. So I like to create content, anything that people can appreciate or make them feel something. With my songs, I make them. There's nothing better for me than posting a song online, and then I get the reactions. Oh, this was my summer anthem, and I fell in love to this song. Things like that. I'm like, okay, that's what life is really about, right? Those are the moments that you've given something to the world, and you're getting that feedback, and that motivates you to keep creating. And it's, for me, the next step is just to create more. So make even better videos, make even more songs, make even more art, even things that people can improve their perspective or their mentalities. Also things like this, speaking about the importance of spirituality and understanding your mind, taking control of your mind, I think is one of the biggest things that I want to do in the next while, is really push that message, especially to the younger generation that's growing up in this social media age. And it can be so demotivating, and because they don't have the understanding, that a lot of it is fake or a lot of it is not real, they get depressed and burnt out. Even in the Netherlands, there was in the news last week that that teenagers the highest rate of depression and anxiety
and suicides
ever. And suicide.
ever.
Yeah, and that comes because there's not enough attention being put on controlling your thoughts.
Bruce Lee said, to be honest and truthful to oneself is the hardest thing a person can do. And as soon as you master that, everything else is easy.
Yeah.
And it's such an amazing thing that you did it at such a great age.
No.
You had a big wake-up call, and what's nice is that you're giving it back to these people. You didn't just get this success and be hungry for more and more. The success will come and you understand that.
Yeah.
But it will come because of how you are and how you are as
Yeah.
a person now and giving back. And when you were born in Mexico,
Mhm.
very family oriented,
Yeah.
very loving. And I notice that with a lot of Mexicans that they're very loving and family oriented, and they try to give. They're very nurturing,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I can see that in you. And then also traveling the world and not speaking the language and going to other worlds, it changes you as a person.
Yeah. It opens your eyes and makes you appreciate different cultures. But also, one important thing as well is when people look at me on social media, they can also get the wrong impression. A muscular guy, I love to travel the world. And the interesting thing is that a lot of the content that I create, especially training, I just love to train, and that's my meditation, and my physique and posting and motivating people to do that and grabbing their attention, is actually just my way of getting the attention in order to be able to send this message. So, I'm building up this following or this group of people that are interested in my life or my story, and I'm keeping their attention, creating music, photos, videos, so that at some point in the near future, with a documentary or a book, I can really give something to them.
I think one of the big things right now is you have a platform to talk to, and now with Generation Iron coming in to do a possible documentary on this, that's even that much more. It opens up that much more because it's great that you're financially and the family and all that, but it's the struggles to let everybody else know that you can go through this and still come out the other side.
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait, and you got to let go of the past and enjoy the future and be hungry as heck like we are for the future, but don't live in it to where it destroys your moments.
Yeah.
You covered a lot today. I love that. But I want to give these guys a little something because you're a good-looking guy with a great body. So we're going to give these guys some insight, because I know for a moment there you were out of shape. Mm-hmm. You were traveling and everything got down on you, and you changed up your nutrition. And then I want to go into your training and how you're going to do that. We are back.
We're back. And
you can't even see my gains, though.
This time it is going to be all about muscle, right?
All about gains. He just flexed on me. Actually, that's a great shot. Get him like that. With this, just him. With the PB.
Let me film on my portrait.
You guys like this, right?
Come on, let's get you.
He's still shaking from the leg workout. We going? We good? All right, so round 2. We did some legs this morning. We did some back the other day. And I was just trying to pass on some information that I learned over the years to you. You are a sponge. You take this and you suck it in and see what works for you. And I love that. So tell me about this last 4 months on, because one of the things I say to people is, regardless of how busy your family or this or that, there's always time. Yeah. And you were running into the situation where you're running out of time, and so you had to improvise and change things. Yeah. Let us know what happened.
Yeah, so the first quarter of this year, actually the last quarter of last year, were very difficult business-wise. So I was traveling a lot. I had a lot of stressful meetings, and trying to get my company to the next level. And the traveling, and of course my daughter is growing, and it's taking up a lot of my time, and it really bit into not so much my my training. I was still training every day, but my diet, it was really, I was not even able to wake up in time to prep my meals or to, to really keep myself in a good condition for, posting pictures and,
Right.
and making content. So I kind of reached a little bit of a moment where this is too much now. That was about 6.5 weeks ago, 7 weeks, and I had to hit 102 kilos, and that's
not good for
that's not muscle. That was I think I was at about 14-15% body fat, which for me, obviously I didn't post a lot around that time. It was very high.
And that's 7 weeks.
7 weeks ago.
So how did you change your physique from what it sounds like not your best in the last few years,
Yeah.
to the best I have seen you? How'd you do that in 7 weeks?
Yeah.
So
So
you didn't quit the business or
no,
nothing like
everything's
that.
still there.
So everything's
Music,
still there.
yeah.
So you're just as busy as you were, but you found a way to do the nutrition, get in the best shape, go.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. So again, exactly the same kind of. I started to do research, to look up new diet strategies, something specifically diet strategies for busy people. What can work for me? How can I stay on a, to lose body fat or to maintain what I have with the kind of life that I have, being, an entrepreneur, a father, musician? It's how can I pull this off now? Because this is now, it just,
Carry a lot of
my
hats,
tasks were just adding up over the years, and 3-4 years ago I could get away with it, but slowly I couldn't anymore again. So I had to adjust something. And then I had started doing some more research on intermittent fasting. So I opened up my mind again. I was exactly the traditional in that sense, that not eating for 16 hours or 20 hours or even 36 hours, that's absolutely nonsense. That's bad for you. Your metabolism is going to crash. So I thought, let me just do some research on that, because I'm hearing a little bit more about it, and I want to see what the whole deal is. And what I found were some really interesting points, very interesting points. The first is that as humans, we were not actually evolved to be eating 6 to 8 times a day. So if we're going to talk about maintaining or having a healthy system or chemical balance in your body, it's not with eating that long and that often. The second thing I found, which I found really interesting, is that things like breakfast, because obviously with intermittent fasting, you were basically skipping breakfast and lunch, has always been marketed to me as a kid growing up watching TV. Kellogg's cereals, sugar, this is the breakfast of champions, right? You got basically programmed to think that you need breakfast, and if you don't eat breakfast the whole day, you're gonna be in a dip. So then I saw that. And then it led to the same thing. So we spoke about, what is actually the most important thing always is to learn. So first I just read everything. I read every perspective. I took no judgment on the topic. I said, okay, I'm going to try it. So what I ended up doing.
Love that you tried it.
Yeah. So I started with 16 hours of fasting. So that's basically you just skip breakfast, and then you eat in an 8-hour window. So I started with that. Now the first day, it was weird, because usually you wake up, you have breakfast. Second day, again. Third day, and the only thing I would be doing in the mornings is drinking a lot of water, coffee, any kind of sugar-free drinks were okay. And now, all of a sudden, I was not waking up hungry, I was waking up thirsty. So that kind of triggered me of something that I read a while back, that sometimes when you think you're hungry, you're actually just thirsty. So your body's signaling, sometimes doesn't get it right, and you eat instead of drinking. And so that was the beginning. And then after 3 days, my body adjusted completely. And in that frame that I was eating, my macros were actually the same macros that I had from the 5 to 6 meals that I was doing for the standard cutting plan. But now I was eating it in a more condensed time frame. So the next thing I started to notice is that because I'm eating bigger meals closer together, I was feeling fuller. I was feeling fuller, and in the time that I was fasting, I was not actually that hungry. So once I started eating, then I got hungry. So that also led to the next revelation. When you eat breakfast early, you're gonna end up wanting to eat the whole day through because your insulin, your blood sugar is going up and down, and that causes all kinds of responses of you need this or you need that. So the fasting, I wasn't hungry. I started eating, condensed time frame, and I was full. And why is that important? I'm one of those guys, late at night at 10 p.m., jar of Nutella.
And we talked
and
about
peanut
Nutella.
butter.
It is
Yeah.
our kryptonite.
Yeah.
And so this worked for you.
Yeah.
And we talked about how you were worried about, well, how can you be creative if you're not eating? How can you do this? How can you maintain muscle? How can you do, and I hope everybody understands this. There is some benefits from all the lifting you've done, but you're at such a point, and the one thing I did is the same kind of thing. My life is a study. I study everything, all styles of lifting or techniques or nutrition. I'm a continuous study, and I'm willing to give up my body to understand nutrition,
Yeah.
even to the finest detail. So I did the same thing. The clarity that you have is amazing.
No.
Our brains are so clear and fresh and focused, and you come up with the best ideas, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this. I mean, is that how it was for you?
Yeah. So I mean, it begins with first realizing you don't actually need breakfast, and then it leads into, hey, now I'm eating the same food but in a condensed time frame. Now I finally feel full. Before I was eating smaller meals across and I was hungry the whole day, and I was actually only thinking about food. Even when I was supposed to be creative, I was thinking, oh, what is in the cabinet, you know? So that obviously led to then other discoveries. And one of them, which is actually, I think, the biggest one, you know, with that concept of, you know, allowing your body to fast once in a while or, you know, consistently, is it does not shut down your metabolism. In fact, they've done studies and the metabolism doesn't actually start to drop until you've fasted for like 2 days. So what's interesting about that, if you look even further, again, learn some more, it makes sense. If we were cavemen, we haven't evolved the last 100 years. We evolved 100,000 years. So, you know, they're not waking up to Kellogg cereals. They were waking up and they had to go out and hunt. So if after half a day of not eating or a day, your body shuts down, that makes no sense. It actually revs up. Your metabolism goes up. Your growth hormone goes up. So your body wants you to push to get that meal. So, and that occurs in a period of about 1, 2 days, 3 days. After that, of course, if you don't have anything in your body, you're going to start to catabolize. But that was also a shock for me. Like, not eating, you're not going to immediately lose muscle. It's not a time frame of, you know, of a few hours or even half a day. It's really, you need to not eat for 2, 3 days before your metabolism actually goes down.
So this worked for you, and you got in incredible shape in
Yeah.
7 weeks. Would you recommend for somebody that's trying to bodybuild, a youngster, 18 through 25?
Yeah.
Would you recommend it for them?
Yeah, so what you're condensing the meals. Now, bodybuilding is modern. Cavemen weren't bodybuilders. So in order to put on mass, yes, you need to eat often in order to make the meals smaller so that you can actually, you know, get it all in. If you have to condense the amount of bulking calories into 4 hours or into 8 hours, you know, you're gonna be eating massive meals and it's gonna be uncomfortable. So this diet strategy, I really like it because I don't have to worry about breakfast or lunch. You know, I can wake up, coffee, juice, get into the office, into the studio, finish all my stuff, and then because I'm busy the whole day, you know, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. comes along, oh, it's time to eat. I didn't even realize the time went by. So for a busy individual, I find it really
Works for you.
works for maintaining your weight or cutting body fat. If you want to grow, you need to eat often. And
I
now,
like that you're open, and you know that, and it works for you, and that's what we're talking about for you guys out there listening, is that I have guys around me that very little carbs most of the year because they want to be sliced to the bone.
Yeah.
And that works for them. Mona is probably a genetic freak, but she's one of those people that can eat such a large amount of carbohydrates and calories that when we went through the pregnancy, we didn't have her lift. We had her relax, almost like an off season, and loaded her on calories. And then after the baby was born, everything was great there. Then we just cut her calories, and she got right back in shape in 12 weeks without training. So even though this worked for you, and this is great for the busy man, there's so many other ways. And then I know that for me, when I won the universe, the very last time I won the universe, I can remember the diet to the T. And I've tried to mimic that. And over the years, I've never been able to mimic it the same way. The body's changed and it's done stuff. And that's why I always like to change. What I like that you do is you study, you work with something, and this is working for you right now. And you do look great. You came to the gym the other day and he took off his shirt. And I said, all right, so on this video, I'm going to keep my shirt on and cover up. I am not taking it off next to this man. You look great.
Thank you.
And I love the training that we've done this week.
Yeah.
We're going to get another body part before you leave?
I think we got time for it.
I think we got it.
Yeah.
We'll wake up early.
Why
You're
not?
shooting a lot. You're shooting a lot this week. You're
Yeah.
shooting with Column, Panda,
Yeah.
some other guys.
Yeah, some of the guys I can't really mention.
Okay.
More A-list
Nice.
celebrities that somehow follow me
Follows you.
and find
That's
it
an
interesting.
amazing thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
When
it's
you
it's
reach
crazy.
outside of the
Yeah.
fitness world.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially for me within the music industry, especially a lot of DJs. I have really good contact with all the best DJs in the world, and unfortunately, not because my music is so good that they're playing it, but because they see that I'm musical and I'm a DJ, and they have problems with their health and their anxiety and their stress. They're touring every single day, so they reach out to me, can you help me, psychologically or physically with some training or so that I can, get through my dip or get through my struggle with, touring. Some of these guys play like, a show every day or every second day in a different country for like months, stretches of months. That just completely
The
destroys
DJs
it.
become celebrities.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
guys have become
Yeah.
like you guys are hot, man. I know a lot of my friends are like, oh, the DJ is this DJ's here, so we're all going, and I'm like, you're going for the DJ, and I was never a club guy, so I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. I'm happy for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it's a completely different culture, and obviously, the contrast between what we do with health and fitness is quite big. Nightclubs, drugs, alcohol, but you're starting to see more and more that, especially at festivals, like the guys like to go to the festivals and take their shirt off and look good. The young guys, right?
Right.
So you're starting to see that crossover with electronic music and with fitness more and more often. And when I played at Tomorrowland in Belgium, the biggest festival in the world for this kind of music, when I was playing, it was just a bunch of fit people. Everybody knew I was there.
Going, Tavi's on,
yeah,
I'm posing down.
Yeah, so it's a
love it.
beautiful thing. It's different. It's different from. Of course, I will never say I'm in the top of that world yet. Maybe.
You're on your way, man.
Maybe I'm on my
You're
way,
on
but
your way.
yeah,
It's
what
fun.
can I say?
You're having
Yeah,
fun.
that's
That's
yeah,
the one
exactly.
thing you're doing. You're enjoying and you're living in the moment, and you're spreading it.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but a peaceful warrior, man. I appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother. That's it, boys and girls. Go follow Tavi. I'm assuming you are all following Tavi already, so you don't need to go follow him. Everybody follow. My girl follows him, so.